Well, hello. This is a earlier edition of the Missing Lynx post-game podcast live stream. All of the buzzwords, so hopefully an algorithm will pick me up. I'm your host, Andrew Dukowitz, beat reporter for ZoneCoverage. I cover the Lynx, Wolves, and the Golden Gophers women's basketball team. And we have Nate Alsdurf, Nate Alsdurf of Crunch wears no pants, but Prowl does wear pants.
Yes.
Fame. How's it going, man?
That's a mouthful. Dude, it's going great. Thank you for having me on. I said in the DMs when you invited me on, I was like, do I want to come on your podcast and talk with a buddy about the greatest team in WNBA history? Yeah, no brainer. Obviously, of course. What would I rather be doing on a Saturday night? It's great. So I'm happy to be here.
I mean, it has been not hard finding guests for this at all, because it's crazy. Like last year when I got on the Lynx beat, I was like, I feel like most people are just looking for like permission to watch the Lynx. Like, even if you're, diehard, I don't watch women's sports, like this team like breaks that mold, right? So yeah. It's been interesting to see like you guys do a ton more Lynx stuff this year. Like, spoiler, on Monday, John Krasinski's coming on because he's been watching the Lynx all year. Like, it's just crazy how many people have just fallen in love with this team. And I see you're wearing a Lynx jersey. Whose jersey are you repping today?
Oh, Fee and the Rebel, of course. Happy to report we're 1-0 in the Fee Rebel edition. So I think we found. I'm not going to take full credit for us finding our winning ways, but I'm thinking it may have helped a little bit. So I'm going to keep that going through the end of the season and the playoffs. So, but yeah, you're right, man. It's been so fun. Like last year, admittedly, like a newer fan, just in the last couple of years. Same with some of my other. Jordan's been a fan since they became a team, basically.
Jordan seems like a hipster fan. Like he is the guy that was like buying the Decemberists' first album, and like,
yep,
that Jordan seems like a hipster.
He's got a little bit of that, but he's pretty gracious about it. Because I try to be Brandon Beck and I try to be like, give him his flowers and like, you're the OG. We bandwagoned and then became real fans, but he's gracious and he's pumped about it. So there's no, this was my team before it was your team. But yeah, man, I just think like this state for the non-WNBA fans is primed for just like this type of, and last year too, type of runs, because it's a basketball state. And there's such that desire to be watching basketball all year round. And it's just so fun. And we're so spoiled that we get to go, from the Wolves to the Lynx, back to the Wolves, back to the Lynx. Like, it's just great basketball for 365 days, basically.
And like, it's not going to stop. I think that's what the crazy part of this is. Like, even with the new CBA, even with some players probably leaving this offseason, like, as long as Fee and K-Mac are still gainfully employed by the Minnesota Lynx, like this dynasty is going to form again. It's just kind of a matter of like, how much do they win? Which we should get into that. They beat the Sun tonight. It marks a franchise best 31st win, which, yes, there are more games this year. There was more games. I mean, it's a growing sport, but still 31-7, I think they are now.
31-8.
I mean, that's an obnoxious winning percentage. And they clinched the 1 seed. So, Nate, I mean, again, you mentioned you're kind of a newer fan to it. What has that experience been like, just jumping into the Lynx, where they're the New York Yankees of the WNBA?
I feel spoiled. I feel, like those fan bases that are hated. It feels great to be hated. Like, some of the interactions with WNBA Twitter, I'm basking in it. Sometimes you get people in your mentions and they're like trying to troll, and it can be annoying, whatever, but I'm like, I'm basking in it. I'm like, I love this. I love that we're so good that we're hated, pretty unilaterally across the board. And like, people are trying to make excuses for Fee, and they're looking at her free throws. And like, there was somebody that I like quote tweeted a few, like, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. And then she's coming at Fee for her free throw numbers, which I was like, this is also a hilarious thing, because she doesn't really get to the line that much. But they're, seeing other fan bases come for us and try to like make excuses or, try to logic away how good we are is just, it's a blast. I'm loving every bit of it.
It's crazy too, because I remember when I was on your guys' pod, like at some point as a Lynx fan and as somebody that covers the team, you just have to throw your hands up and be like, it just isn't fair. Like, It isn't fair that this team has 8.5 starting players with Masha now playing really good. It's not fair that they got Dejanay at the trade deadline. Like, it's not fair fees on this team, but it's also really
it's not
cool.
fair. We have Chicago's pick.
I know, like
at what point do they need to step in and be like, we need to do something about the Minnesota Lynx? Like,
well, and it's kind of a credit, and I'll throw it out. I'll just ask you this too, because I always like hearing outside media members' perception of Cheryl and like newer fans' perception of Cheryl, because like I went from being like a Lynx fan, but definitely more of a Wolves fan, to like on the Lynx beat. So like I couldn't tell you like every fun fact about Cheryl Reeves. So I've just gotten to like know Cheryl over the last 2 years, and she's delightful. Like easily my favorite person I've been able to talk to across NBA, WNBA, like Ant included. Like Cheryl's my favorite. So Cheryl or Carly, if you're listening to this, you get that one. But it's so interesting because fans around the league just kind of have this impression of her that she's like Palpatine from Star Wars and just like running the Sith, and it's just so far from the truth. What has your Cheryl Reeve experience been being a newer fan?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that side of things, the Palpatine-esque. Like, I feel like I would describe Cheryl as someone that could slap me in the face and I would respect her more for it. Like, I'd just be like, you were right to do that. I needed that. But and I think when you were on our pod, we talked a little bit about this too, but like, it is hard not to compare a little bit, like the coaching that we have on both basketball teams, Finch and Cheryl, like they have a little bit of the similar, like, know how to talk to players, aren't afraid to say what they need to say, can kick you in the ass when you need it, but then also are like, like encouraging and tell you, the parts of your games that you need to fix. But then, and like, she just has, I don't know, it's so hard to put words to it, but like, she just says the right thing at the right time all the time. And it's just, she's just so well balanced, and that's so valuable to have as a coach because, like to be able to balance being, quote unquote, a player coach, somebody that can kind of pick you up when you're down, but then also, again, kind of like kick you in the teeth when you need to be set straight. And she's not afraid to do that. And it's so much credit to her. It's not a surprise. She's been doing this for so many years. But it's very cool to see because you just don't see that across any league, really. There's such a small percentage of coaches that can balance those two things.
I mean, the Seattle game, the press conference, she closed it by saying, we need to play some effing defense. Yeah. And then almost repeated, we need to play some effing defense. And like kind of walked out of the press conference and like, I guarantee you those players did not have a fun evening that night, like after the game finished. And then tonight I asked her, I said, how'd you feel their response was tonight? Like, obviously there's some bumps in the road, but I mean, what'd you think happened? And she's just like, I honestly didn't think there was any bumps in the road tonight. They played awesome. This was the defensive response that they wanted, like super complimentary, almost named every player on roster by name, and then just like ends with a joke. And it's such a, you're right. She really doesn't ever say the wrong thing. Even like, I mean, we don't need to get into like the tragedy that happened in Minneapolis, but like even in regards to that, I mean, she's just kind of always knows what to say to meet a moment, whether it's as big as that or as small as like somebody has too many turnovers. Right. Which is super rare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She is just, I just have so much respect for her as a coach and an executive too. And that's the other thing too, being able to balance those two things. That's hard because she has to make some hard decisions, both on both sides of those things, but those can be such a conflicting thing. We saw that with Tom Thibodeau with the Timberwolves. Like there's a few people that have been able to, or that have done that in either league, but it's just a balancing act at any given moment. So I just have such an immense respect for her.
I am going to throw us over to a quick ad read here. When we get back, we'll talk more about the game tonight against Connecticut, though. I don't know how much we need to get into it. So if fans want to start throwing questions out or want to pick Nate's brain or pick my brain, feel free to. But we'll jump to an ad read when we come back. We'll talk about Connecticut a little bit begrudgingly. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Lynx podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. So, Nate, I'm going to just ask you, I mean, third quarter, I think everyone got a little tense as Connecticut made that 14-7 run to end it. But what did you feel like? What was your confidence level when that run was happening, that the Lynx were just going to kind of close the door on this team?
I understand the nervousness. I think just following up the Seattle game and the collapse that we saw, that's sort of like, well, there's proof it can happen. And that's enough to scare anybody, especially when this just needed to be a prove it game. When you're just going out against a lesser opponent, you need a bounce back win. You want to clinch. So I felt a little bit of the nerves, and I think like once we started to score again and just see the basket or the ball go through the hoop, that lesson. But it is funny. I was looking at I just had the game cast pulled up, and I'm like, at no point was it really ever in question. Like the closest it got was, I think, 11 points. And then in the third, and it was like, it never dipped past like a 97% chance of winning, which, anything can happen. But it is just funny in hindsight on the other side of things, how from anybody else watching that game is like, yeah, the Lynx there's no reason you should be concerned. So yeah, I get it. Especially when, like, as a Minnesota sports fan, you're just a little bit of like, we've seen things happen before, but I don't think I was ever really truly concerned.
Yeah, they had that one stretch where Shep got called for the flagrant, and then they hit a 3 on the like ensuing possession after the free throws. And I was kind of like, well, that's dumb. But then as soon as the fourth quarter started, it was just over. Ben asks a good question here, actually. Are we nervous about Fee? Or is it just trying to find her legs after being out 3 weeks? No, her first game back, she dropped 32. I thought she had a very Fee-esque game tonight. I mean, Let me pull it back up here, but I want to say she went like 7 of 13, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks for plus 19 and no turnovers. I think we're spoiled with Fee because that game is, I mean, let's be honest, that game is like how Alyssa Thomas is making an MVP case. And it's just the fact that Fee were so used to being so great that just having an above average game is, rightfully, I guess, concerns people. But I don't know. What have you thought in the 3 games she's come back, Nate?
Tonight specifically, I had a moment of like, it was after the first or midway through the second, I was like, oh man, Fee's having a rough game. And I looked and she was like 2 of 4. So like she hadn't been scoring a lot, but it was really just 2 like biffed layups or sort of like her down on the block. And it was sort of like a tough shot, but also like something that Fee would typically make. So I think it was more so just the volume early on where she had a slow start. She wasn't getting a lot of good looks. And when she was, if a second help defender came, she kind of passed out of it. So I think it's just like not what we're used to seeing out of Fee. But to your point, like she still ended up having a really good game. It was more of a slow roll. And then she kind of turned it on in the second half as things started to snowball a little bit. But I'm not that concerned. And honestly, I'm glad that we now have this like little bit of cushion now where she can kind of get things going as we go into the playoffs. Like she had a bad game in Seattle. Like that was not a good Fee game, but I think, yeah, some of that is like she just missed a lot of time, and maybe it wasn't a lot of games, but there was a lot of space between those games, and that's just a long time not to be playing like live action basketball. So I mean, I think the sample size of what Fee has been, in her career, but also specifically this year is big enough where this is sort of the dip that leads to the mean, like she's going to probably like her having these bad games now before the playoffs. I'd much rather have than her playing great and then, more, those dips coming in really meaningful basketball games. So I don't know. I'm not concerned.
Again, it's still like, this is just the level of expectation that Fee has though, right? Again, 17 points on 7 of 13 shooting, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals, plus 19 with no turnovers. And it's like, is Fee like kicking rust off still? Like, what's going on with Fee?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a Hall of Fame worthy game for most players. But that's just Fee. I thought against Seattle, she had a couple possessions that were just really uncharacteristic Fee. Like,
Sure.
like you said, biffed a couple layups. She chunked a couple like turnarounds that she normally makes. But then there was just also plays where like Fee, it looked like she was trying to like almost move too fast, which is weird because Fee's like one of the slowest kind of methodical, like footwork, game management type of players there is. But it looks like Seattle sped her up, which I think tonight it was much more just back to Fee being Fee. And I mean, honestly, the other thing is she only played 27 minutes, which if the rest of the way, this is kind of leading into Ben's next question of just how does Coach Reeve play the last 6 games minutes wise for the starters. I think this is the dream. You have K-Mac, Fee, Lan all at like 25 to 28, and then you have Court and BC around 20 to 25. That being said, I mean, Coach after the game said like this team doesn't really have an off switch, so they're probably still going to play like maniacs the last 5 games and try and win 35 or last 6 games and try and win 35 and set that record really far up there. But what are your expectations, Nate?
Yeah, I think you're right. I do think it's at the end of the day, it's Cheryl. Like she's going to be wanting to, destroy teams regardless because she just has that. She doesn't have that off switch. She is a psycho in that way, which I love. But yeah, so I do think that we're still going to see some pretty heavy starter minutes. But to your point, like if we can get those down a little bit to the 25, 26, 27, maybe just some blowout wins so we don't even have to worry about it. But I mean, our bench is so like this roster is so deep that you can still win those games by going, playing more heavily, like Jess minutes, Masha, T, Dejanay, like rely on your bench. And honestly, that's a really great thing. So, sort of like we're spoiled in that way with this cushion. We've already locked up the 1 seed. Get the deep bench some minutes and some sort of like more, like more heavy minutes leading into playoffs so that they're not coming in rusty if there's injury or foul trouble or as things kind of tighten up. Like, I don't know. I think that there's a balance to be struck, but yeah, to your point, I just think Cheryl's still gonna try to just destroy everyone that we play the last 4 games. I think we have 5 games.
What are 4 or 5? Dallas. I mean, Dallas, I think they can run away with. Then they play the Aces, and just knowing this team and knowing Fee wakes up extra. I mean, Fee I don't think has ever taken a game off in my 2 years like writing for this team. Fee against the Aces. There was that one game where she out rebounded the entire Aces team by herself last year. Like that game's going to mean something. Then they have 2 against Golden State, 1 against Indiana. Like, I can also see the value of like, if Golden State's going to be the 8th seed, why not just put them in the dirt 2 games in a row to lead into a playoff series and have that mental edge? Kind of the same with Indiana. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they really want to go out and just hey, you want to play us in the first round, here's a message type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I hope they get a little less minutes. I also, Marie asks in the chat, BC didn't score, but feels like she had a good game. Very strong defense. Completely agree. Like BC, it's not even an inside joke at this point, because Cheryl and Courtney have confirmed it, that BC oftentimes will remind Courtney of like what play they're supposed to be running and kind of reel her in.
Yeah.
So I think BC's best attribute is her defense and ability to get Courtney Williams to be on topic. But the last stretch of this season is also games that like have BC shoot 15 times a game. Just let her launch it, get into a rhythm. She's shooting over 40% since the All-Star break, but why not just like let some of these role players, more tertiary players, just go off like Dejanay did tonight, which Nate, I know you've been big on the Dejanay trade since it happened. How was your Dejanay Carrington experience tonight?
Well, before I jump into that, I just wanted to touch on Bridget, because I agree. If you look at the stat sheet and you're just looking for point totals or whatever, totally agree where you're like, oh, what, she didn't score or whatever, but she's a plus 23. She had her fingerprints all over this game, and she's just one of those players that doesn't necessarily need to score to have an impact, but she is a rhythm scorer. Like, she's somebody that you need to, whether it's Cheryl drawing up plays or Courtney like targeting her early in games, that's kind of what I want to see. And that feels like an unlock for the playoffs. Like, to your point, let's get her a lot of shots these last 5 games, try to get that rhythm going, and just see her have her see the ball go through the net, because it's such a confidence thing. It's like, if you only shot, she had two shot attempts tonight. Like, it's really hard to, late in the game, in a meaningful game, if you've only shot the ball once or twice, you're cold, you don't have any rhythm in your shot. So I just think like getting her looks early in the game can really like, pay dividends as the game goes on and the series go on and we go deeper into the playoffs. So, but yeah, kicking it over to Dejanay. Like I said on Twitter, the greatest trade in sports history. I think that's fair to say at this, 7 games. I don't know how many she's actually played since the trade happened, but yeah, it was her best game tonight. I mean, statistically speaking, 18 points. She just exploded. She's all over the place. She is, we were talking in our group chat, again, not to do another Wolves comp here, but she just reminds me a lot of Nikki Alexander-Walker in that, similar to Bridget, it's like the scoring is just frosting. Like, she is so good defensively, getting into passing lanes. She's so disruptive, and that's her game. And so any scoring she does, you're like, oh, cool. You're like the best defender on the court, and also can just like lead the charge on breakaways and, knock down an open look. So, it's and similar to Nikhil, like miscast as a primary ball handler sometimes. Like, that, like, it's just an embarrassment of riches that we have a former, all defensive player just coming off the bench and playing some of our extra minutes. So it's a blast. And she's cool.
Wild.
She's so cool too.
She is really cool. I've said it before, like the interactions I've had with her, like at practices and scrums and stuff like that, she's a really like brilliant basketball player too. Like, first scrum after the trade, she's breaking down like Cheryl's defensive concepts to us, and it's like, oh, you're like, again, I realize I have Twins or Timberwolves people that come in here, so I'd also kind of mix the two together. It's Minnesota basketball at this point. Like, I don't know, but like, she has like a Mike Conley type of IQ where she just understands basketball really well. And I think when you're watching her play, so much of it seems like chaotic, and like she's just diving for rebounds, and there's all this just kind of like energy. But what I've realized is a lot of that energy is just like really calculated out. Like, okay, what's my chances of actually getting this offensive rebound? Well, I'm not going to half-ass it. I'm going all in for it if I think my chances are good. The other thing I really appreciate a lot about her is this team really didn't have anyone that would not like get in a fight, because like that's probably like dismissing what it is about her, but she just has this like feistiness to her where like she gets a tech against Mayberry today.
Yeah.
She's not afraid to like go toe to toe with anybody and like stand up for people. And it's just really refreshing because I think the Lynx really needed someone on this team that just isn't afraid to mix it up.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think that's I kind of compared them a little bit to Oklahoma City as far as just how dominant and how about their business they are. But there is a little bit of like and like OKC, sorry not to compliment you, it's soulless basketball, don't respect it. But I think that the one thing that we were kind of missing a little bit is that a little bit of that like like I'm not scared. I will stand up to anybody. Like I can back up my words. Like, and I think Court has a little bit of that. But I think I don't know. I just think you need a little bit of that. Like, hey, you're jawing at, whoever on the team, I'm stepping in. Like, you're not doing that to my teammate. I'm standing on business. She brings that level of just swagger, and it is, it just rounds out an already incredible roster and sort of an attitude and a grittiness, both defensively and attitude, to your point.
And I mean, I put Dustin's chat up there. The one thing that he didn't like tonight was Nay was hot and Cheryl pulls her and kills the momentum, which, I mean, I think when playoffs come, the only comments I'll say on that is like when playoff comes, if Nay is having a ridiculous stretch of basketball, I think Cheryl just keeps BC on the bench and Dejanay plays 30 straight minutes. I think right now there's no reason to have Dejanay play more than what she's playing, which Andrew down in the chat says Carrington needs more minutes come playoff. Yeah, come playoffs, 100%. I think she is going to get a lot more. I think the reason they traded her for her was playoffs. She has that ability to just put the ball on the deck, get to the rim. She has a little mid-range game. She's defensively just a maniac at times with like how intense her ball pressure is. It's again, I've said it quite a few times. It isn't fair. The Lynx shouldn't have been able to just get this type of player at the trade deadline that fits in immediately and blends perfectly and like everyone likes her. Jude says at the bottom, I'm assuming this is sarcasm, but what the Lynx are too nice. They are. And all I'm going to say is like Courtney talks a lot of trash. T talks a lot of trash. I know T has the ability to mix it up with players. Like, I think she got like a tech earlier this season for like holding out a celebration, like directly in front of Kelsey Plum's like face. I think Lan is tough as nails. Fee is tough as nails. BC is tough as nails. Like they have Masha on the bench, who's
even K-Mac too.
K-Mac, I mean, K-Mac will legitimately get into it with people, but like it has to be like a K-Mac heater where she's feeling slighted. Dejanay, I think, is the type of person that like if Lan gets undercut on a rebound, Dejanay's like stepping on their foot the next time on defense, or she's not afraid to like jump into that situation immediately, which again, it's just weird that, Dejanay, what I've gotten to know from her off the court is like almost exactly the opposite of what you'd expect her to be like. Like she's just very nice, kind, super smart, not super like vocal, and on the court, she plays with this reckless abandon. I mean, Nate, I'm trying to dig myself out of a hole here because I don't want to say the Lynx are like too nice to win a championship because that's not what it is. But like they were missing that edge, right?
Yeah. I think how you put it's kind of hard to explain because to your point, like it's not that people aren't. It's not like we don't have players that are
like Fee wants to rip your heart out when she's playing basketball.
I think that's what it comes down to is like your star, who you built the team around. Like Cheryl is the coach. Like she'll get into it, but she also, I think, has that little like she holds herself back. She holds the team back a little bit in the like, let's not get into it. Be about your business.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do something stupid. I think sometimes you need somebody that's going to do something stupid or is capable of that. Like, and I think that's, I guess, the best way I could put Dejanay, where it's like, it's not stupid, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I do. I know what you mean. I'm just trying to help other people who don't know what we mean.
Like, I think we have some good trash talkers on here, but I do think on the team, but I do think sometimes you kind of match Fee's energy where it's just like, let's do it. Like, let's just clock in, beat this team, kill their spirit, walk away, you know? And I think sometimes when you play teams like that might have a Mabry on their team that want to get into it, want to get under your skin, you need somebody that can match that energy. And I think Dejanay can do that without it turning, I guess, spiraling. Because sometimes that's the other thing is sometimes you have players that can match that energy, but it's like, well, we don't want to get into like a fist fight here. Like we need somebody that can.
That's the Natasha Cloud part, right? Like where I'm going to preface this by saying like, this may ruin this myself for Lynx fans, but like Tosh Cloud is probably in my top 3 favorite players to watch. Yeah, but when she starts getting technicals, her game falls off and she is not afraid to mix it up with anybody. So it's one of those weird things where like Dejanay can mix it up and still keep playing at a really high level. Here, Dustin says it. Dustin, thank you for helping. I think dirty gets confused for toughness. We're tough, but not dirty. Yes. Yeah. And Dejanay is not a dirty player, but she's not afraid to be dirty if she needs to. Yeah. Which I think some of the other Lynx players are a little hesitant. Jude adds, yes, a bit more of the 2010s dynasty edge. Yep. Like 2010, you had Simone, you had Sylvia at the same time. You know, Waylon's not afraid to like throw a chair across the court, which I don't know if she ever did, but it wouldn't have surprised me if she did. Dustin, I appreciate you loving Natasha too, because she is delightful to talk to. And I just love anyone who plays with a ton of passion. They kind of have like the inside track. Mini Me says Fee looked sluggish in the first quarter. They all did, but she looked more like herself in the second half. That's kind of what you were saying too, right, Nate? That it seemed like fourth quarter, especially, she kind of locked in.
Yeah. And I think too, like across the whole team, honestly, I think right now, like, you know, I think like a little bit of a comp to the Wolves 2 years ago or 2 seasons ago, during that just like insane run. I think you're just kind of playing against yourself at this point. Like there's a motivation factor where you're like, we have 5 games, I guess, before this game. We have 6 games to win 1 game, you know, and we need to like finish strong, but we need to win 1 game to lock up the 1 seed. Like, you know, I think they've been pretty good about that year, but like, there's just doldrums that come with being this good. Like you kind of get bored sometimes, or you get like, you know, like we're so dominant. There's almost a level of disinterest that can happen or complacency. And I don't see that happening large scale, but I just think like there are quarters where that happens, where you're just kind of like, you know, and some of that comes in the form of rebounding, where it's like, well, I'm not gonna like crash the boards because this team is a lot worse than us, and we don't need to give 110% tonight necessarily. Like, there's just those things that they're humans, like that just happens. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that kind of worked itself out. Whether that's Cheryl in their ear, seeing like the lead, like not being ahead as much as they should be. So yeah, I think they got their stuff together and figured it out, and that's what you hope for. But you also don't want to build bad habits as you're leading into the playoffs too. So there's a balance.
Exactly. I'm going to throw us over to our last ad read. We'll come back, answer a couple more questions, and then we'll get out of here. Thanks again for coming on though, Nate. And we're back with another ad read. This time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. Man, 0 for 2, pencehomes.com. We had 2 in a row where the .com worked, 2 in a row where it didn't. I'm never going to fix it because I am just convinced that at this point it's just StreamYard trolling me. Ben with a good point here. Waylon tackled Odyssey Sims in the opening minutes of game 4. Yeah, so, you know, Waylon, right? I do want to get your thoughts on this one though, Nate, because Jude says, the Aces game will be a reset, which I think out of all of the games left on the schedule, that's the one that matters the most, right? The Aces haven't lost since the game that Fee and the Lynx kind of destroyed them, and she went down injured. That'll probably be the last measuring stick game before the playoff starts. And the Aces are right now battling for that 2 seed, which is kind of obnoxious for a team that was below 500 like a month ago.
Right. Yeah, no, I think like, again, this team I matches a little bit to, or plays to the level of their opponent sometimes. So I think that being one of the more competitive games left on the schedule, this team having a competitive nature that it doesn't want to necessarily just lay down and rest out the rest of the season. So yeah, I definitely think that'll be a reset. I think even though we're not playing for seeding, we do impact seeding. So there's that element. And just, like I said, building good habits. Like, you just don't want to get lazy this last stretch. You don't want to overdo it, but just play good basketball, compete, take care of business. You're the best team in the W. Play like it, but don't risk any injuries and don't risk any bad habits, like I said. So
it's such a weird position to be in because, like, I mean, I'm trying to think back in my years of being a Minnesota sports fan. Like, they're going to have 2 weeks where they're not playing a meaningful basketball game other than just their own pride. Just how weird is this that they're front running this much?
I know. And like, I mean, it's just felt like such a massive lead all season.
Yeah.
They've been so dominant all season, but to actually have the like, oh yeah, we literally just could sit all the starters if we wanted to, and then not play games until playoffs start. Like, so yeah, it's a crazy place to be where we're just kind of sitting back on our laurels and we're like, all right, like, kind of just waiting for the deep playoffs. I don't know. It's a weird place to be.
It's going to be really interesting with Golden State too, being 2 out of the last 3 games, because Golden State and Indiana are going to be playing like their hair's on fire because they're both on the cusp of missing the playoffs.
Right.
Meanwhile, like you said, Lynx are just going to be able to kind of, they can play Masha 36 minutes if they want to. Start Kosu for a game. It doesn't really matter.
We'll just play the 4 starters or 3.5 starters that we have on our bench and still hopefully win some games. But yeah, it's just an embarrassment of riches. It's crazy how deep this team is. But yeah, I was looking too, like, I was just curious, like, what our point differential is right now. So I was deep in some research before here, but it looks like we're at a 385 point differential. So right now it's the 4th best point differential in WNBA history. So with still 5 games to go, which it could go either way depending on how we show out. But yeah, maybe we'll be moving up that list. It's a historical team this year.
I've been comping it to the 72-10 Warriors team for most of the season. Of just not most of the season, but especially the last like 3 weeks, where if the Lynx, that is how they should be treated in terms of like championship contenders. Like, yes, Asia Wilson's on a tear, scoring 30 almost every night. Yes, New York hasn't had the health, but the Aces, again, they weren't that good of a team not that long ago. New York has to gel their entire roster together in 3 weeks. That typically doesn't happen. Even like Atlanta, yes, they can play really big, but we kind of saw what the Lynx can do when they just are hitting shots. So it's interesting that I think the narrative is finally starting to catch up with the Lynx of like, oh, they're finally championship favorites in like Vegas books. Nate, I'll finish with this one here. KJ just asked, who do we want to see in the first round? I feel like I don't want to see the Storm. What are your thoughts, Nate?
I don't know. I kind of want the Storm. I kind of want the smoke, especially just because it's fresh in the memory. So there's going to be some fire there. I don't know. Honestly, like
I will say I agree with you. I kind of do want the Storm in the first round because I think Diggins dancing off our court.
Yeah, that was.
You're going to get a real pissed off Lynx team in that series, and that might be fun. But go on, Nate.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that move was that was something. I think there was a little bit of a mental bookmark that the whole bench made after that. So yeah, the fire that comes with that. There's a little bit of back and forth that I think is fun. It's fun to have that too in a playoff series. Like you wanna even if you're hoping to destroy the other team, you also want the back and forth is fun. You want to be able to battle with the fan bases on Twitter and whatnot. So. But I honestly, I don't know that I don't feel comfortable in really any, I'm not trying to get ahead of ourselves, but I feel legitimately like this team can take on any team in a series.
Yep.
And that's a good place to be.
Yeah. Among the teams that are kind of fighting for that 8, like the Sparks, I don't think would do too much. Indiana, they're so injured. Like that's at this point just kind of a shell of, even if Caitlin comes back, like that team is so strapped for just warm bodies. I just, when you're playing a playoff series and Fee is going to be out there for 37 minutes giving it her all, I don't know if they have enough to kind of combat that. Seattle, I want, like, this is why sports are fun, right? Like the drama, the storylines, like that's why I'd want Seattle. Golden State, I think, would be really cool because, like, it's their first year in the W. That would just be an awesome experience. But then, like, I feel like Cheryl and the Lynx would just beat them by 40 both games, and it's not a fun experience anymore. So I kind of hope they get a different series that maybe they can win a game. But yeah, it's going to be a super fun playoffs. And
I was just going to say too, like I'm not even that concerned about the teams that have the size too, because we talk a little bit about the three-headed monster front court or back court that we have with front court. I was getting mixed up with Lon and Masha and why am I
Shepard?
Yeah, just sorry.
There you go.
And like it just feels like they all, they're all similar size, but like they defend differently and they have different specialties, and you can just kind of like, depending on your matchup, you can kind of, it's a Swiss Army knife. And I think Masha and Jess play way bigger than 6'4", I think they're listed at, and they clog the lane, and Lon is just a shot blocking machine. I just think that, even if Lana's getting that terrible whistle that she gets sometimes, or called for phantom fouls, even though she defends without fouling all the time.
Yep.
I think that's where you can kind of pull the levers with Jess and Masha. So I just, like I said, there's just different depth, and there's such a diversity of skill set on this roster that it doesn't matter what team, like what sort of strength of the opponent that you have. It feels like there's a counter on the roster, and that's on Cheryl to kind of game plan and decide kind of those lineups and who she's pulling from the bench. So I don't know. I just feel good.
Yeah. It's again, as a Minnesota sports fan, really weird.
Yeah.
Nate, anything you got to plug, anything you want to shout out before we get out of here though?
Yeah, a couple things. So, if you guys are interested in another podcast, we, as Andrew mentioned, I'm on a podcast with a couple buddies of mine called Crunch Wears No Pants, at No Pants Crunch on Twitter. We are a Wolves and Lynx podcast. We are sort of a fan centric pod. So we just like to enjoy basketball, and talk about it and do stupid drafts with fictional characters sometimes. And yeah, it's just a good time. So if you're looking for something else, tune in, check us out on socials. You can find me at Alsdurf, at Brandon Beck 4 is one of our other hosts, and then at Tornado Jally. And and then also another thing is with those that Golden State game coming up on the 11th, we're going to be there. We affectionately call our listener base Panty Nation. So we're doing a Panty Nation takeover of Section 112. So if you're wanting to go to the last home game, you should come check it out. We want to try to sell out that section, sell out the arena if we can, but specifically that section, show love as we kind of finish out strong. So come check it out. And then I also wanted to plug, obviously with the tragedy that just occurred in Minneapolis and just kind of our community hurting, there's a lot of ways to kind of get involved. And I think NPR has some great like places you can donate to the families and those affected. But also another big one is just the lack of backlog of blood that there is right now with a Red Cross. It's been in the news a little bit, but they just have a sort of don't have enough. So if you are able and willing, give blood. They could definitely use it. So that's what I got.
Nate, you're the man. I appreciate you. Yes, give blood. I'm an RN by day, so giving blood is one of the best ways you can help, and kind of one of the purest ways you can help in any of those tragedies, because they always need blood, even if there isn't a tragedy. So great message. Appreciate you, Nate. And for everyone else, until Monday, go Lynx.
Go Lynx.